What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is going to be the start of the 1J Hilux sort of video. We've got a bit of time this morning before we've got another car coming out that we've got to work on, so I figure I'll film a little bit of an intro. So let me know in the comments how you're actually liking this new sort of format of videos. Personally, I'm liking it a bit more, having this, longer, more content-rich videos less frequently. Just sort of, it works for me as far as time constraints and stuff like that goes. And I believe the content is just much better quality. So still sort of finding our feet with this YouTube thing, trying to figure out what's going to work best for us and for you guys and what you'd like to see. So let me know whether you like this sort of stuff or whether you'd rather the daily content sort of thing, so that I can see sort of which direction to sort of go in future. This here is the mighty 1J Hilux. So I've touched on this in a previous video just briefly. This Hilux is pretty much a recurring customer of ours. He's been around for a long time. This Hilux has been here for a few reasons over the years, for a few different things. At the moment, as you can see, we've got gearbox issues. So I'll pop the bonnet and give you a look at what's inside. Righto guys, so here we have a fully forged non-VVTi 1JZ GTE. I am unsure quite what size the turbos are, but as you can see, it's a complete custom inline twin turbo setup. All this fab work and the motor was built by a company up in Rockhampton, I believe. I'll have to confirm for you what the company's name was, but the owner, it's one of his relatives, so it was built by him. So as you can see, aftermarket coil packs, it's got, I can't remember exactly what size injectors it's got in it, but it's got big fuel system, fully forged. It's whole kit and caboodle, everything's here for big power. So yeah, originally built by that company up in Rocky. It was then tuned in Hervey Bay, but during the tune it ran out of fuel pump. So it didn't get the tune finished off. It made 320 horsepower at the wheels at 18 psi during that tune before it ran out of fuel pump. Obviously we here are quite a long ways from Hervey Bay, so it has never been back to be finalised, the tune, just because it's been a fair way away. But we have done a lot of work over this car over the years, and now that we finally have our dyno, the owner has decided he wants us to sort of get this thing sorted now and finish the tune off and hopefully make some decent sort of power. However, like I said, I'm unsure on the size of the turbos, and I believe that looking at them that they are probably going to be our restriction for power at this point. However, I may be wrong. We are going to call the bloke who actually built the motor before we tune it, have a chat to him about where he's at with what he wants to get out of the car and what he sort of expected when he built it and what he rates it to. So as tuners, always a very important thing to talk to the people who actually built the motor about what it is. But regardless, Rex and I have always been very impressed with the fab work that's gone into this car. Yeah, really nice. So the issue that we've had with the gearboxes is that it was just mated to a standard G52. This here is a Surf G52, which apparently is slightly stronger, which we were looking at maybe swapping into the car. However, for the customer's power goals, we are not confident that the G52, even the Surf model, is going to last or make. It's not going to handle the power that he wants to make. So we are currently looking at converting to a different gearbox, which I'll go through in a moment. As for the rest of the car, as you can see, it's pretty lifted. It's only on 31s, which sort of adds to the full monster truck look. It makes it look really big. But yeah, it's a Hilux sort of Surf SR5 extra cab, and the interior is nice and pretty much stock and all there. Obviously there's no center console because there's no gearbox in it at the moment. But it's a tidy old SR5 sort of cab. Big tray. It's really nice. It's really good. So anyway, it goes without saying that I massively enjoy the car. I reckon it's awesome. It's like the perfect pre-runner beach setup with a forged 1J. I reckon it'll be so much fun at the beach and doing stuff like that. So yeah, pretty excited to get the tune finished off, see what we can do for power. We're hoping to at least hit that 400 wheel mark with this new gearbox. We're going to try and adapt to it. Righto, so here we have the gearbox that we are attempting to convert into the car. So this is this is an R150F. So very similar internally to say like an R154 or R155, which is a very common gearbox for people to use behind a 1J. However, this is a four-wheel drive version that came in the things like Prado, the Hilux 4Runner, few other things. Most of those 3.4 litre V6 Toyotas and the 3 litre diesels had this gearbox behind them, and they're meant to be quite a strong box. So at the moment we are exploring options to adapt this to the 1J. They do make a few kits. There are many kits around that are available to us. However, given the fact that the 1J had already been converted for the G52, we already have an adapter plate and a clutch fork and a clutch and everything to work with the G52. So what we are trying to do is find a bell housing adapter that is going to work with our clutch fork and our existing clutch to try and save the customer a little bit of money. So given the fact that he's already got the clutch and the clutch setup and everything's there, it seems like a bit of a waste to go out and spend, you know, $2,000+ on a conversion kit for this gearbox, because we're going to end up with a clutch fork and a bell housing adapter and everything else for nothing. So we're trying to figure out exactly how we can get out of this as cheap as we can for the customer and have it still work and be strong enough. However, we weren't too confident putting the other G52 in the car, because we were pretty sure that it wouldn't last and we'd be having to do exactly this conversion again down the road. So it's just about trying to not waste time, not waste customer money, trying to do the things right the first time. So trying to get this gearbox in there, and hopefully that this box will allow us to make our 400 wheel horsepower goal. So that's the 1J Hilux. That's pretty much a run through of what we're doing, and we'll keep this video going as we go through and try and adapt this gearbox and get it on the dyno and see what we can squeeze out of it. Obviously now it also has a new fuel pump, which is going to actually allow us to run a lot more than 18 PSI. So we'll see how we go, we'll see how much turbo we've got there, and yeah, hopefully we can make some good power. What's going on, guys? We're finally back working on the 1J Hilux. So it's been quite a big break because we've been waiting for a very important part to arrive, which is finally here. So we just got Pecker's Corolla on the dyno, and Adam's out here welding some stuff. Actually, while Adam's out here, I'm going to get him to weld up the wing for the LS31 as well. But anyway, so we've been waiting on a new bell housing from Delos for our new R150F gearbox to go into the 1J Hilux. So this is our new bell housing that's arrived from Delos the other day. As you can see, Rex has already dummied up the clutch fork. Now this clutch fork already came off the last G52 conversion, so we've already had the clutch fork. The bell housing came with a ball for the clutch fork, and it is actually adjustable. So pretty much we're at the point now, we've got this all dummied up, we just got to chuck some bolts in it. But we're about to push the Hilux inside on the hoist, and we can dummy up this gearbox onto the motor with the clutch and everything on, and just make sure that this clutch fork is the right offset, that it's actually going to engage the clutch properly, and we have enough play between the throwout bearing and the clutch forks. All those issues that come with, you know, manual boxes and stuff, especially when you're changing gearboxes and offsets for clutches and that sort of thing. So that's pretty much the next step. So we'll drag in this Hilux and have a look at what it's going to look like.
Oh, not bad. Right, so.
Righto guys, so Rex has measured this box up, measured up the clutch fork and the throwout, and all the offsets, everything's going to work, which is awesome. So it means this fork, this setup and the clutch setup that we've already got in the car is going to be sufficient. It's going to work, which is great. So now the next step is trying to figure out what slave is going to actually work, or what's to suit it. So Rex is at the moment just trying to chase that up, trying to find a slave that's going to suit it, trying to find out from Delos what slave this is actually meant to be used with. I'm assuming it'd just be like a W series slave or something like that, but we'll have to find out. But apart from that, everything's going to work, so that's awesome. But we need to get the slave first, because the slave is going to pretty much denounce where the actual fork sits, which is actually going to affect how we shorten the pivot ball. So Delos gives you a pivot ball that's actually adjustable, and you can cut the, like, we have to know whether we're going to have to cut threads off the back of it or not. So we need to do that before it goes in the car, unfortunately, which means we're still at a bit of a stalemate. We can still get the box up there and bolt it in, make sure our cross member's going to work, and measure up some tail shafts and stuff, make sure we got tail shafts that are going to work and stuff like that. But as far as actually fully assembling it, we're still lacking a few parts and stuff, which is a bit of a pain in the bum. But it is what it is. That's just one of the things that comes with doing this sort of work. All right, so dummy fitted this box. Look at this. Like it freaking grew there. So old cross member just bolts straight up, no worries at all. Tail shaft bolts straight up, no worries at all. Rex is actually pissed off because he jumped the gun and already ordered a spacer because he read online that they needed it. And you don't even need one, they're bolted straight up. How good is that?
Well, no, because I actually measured it and I was sure that to the output shaft, or the output on that yoke was different to the old box. But obviously not.
Apparently. And she just slots straight in the JZ like so. Front tail shaft is, we still got to wrestle that on, but it should go on. If not, we've got a spacer coming. But anyway, that's awesome. Not bad at all. So now we've got to do is wait for a slave and set the fork, and we'll probably have to take the box back out to do that, which is a pain because it actually went in really well just then. And everything sort of works. So if it wasn't for the slave and having to reset the ball, we could just leave it in there and everything's pretty much done. But that's not the way it goes. But we did figure out it is a W series slave. So one of them's been ordered. It should be here in the morning. So hopefully tomorrow we'll have a slave for it, which would be awesome. But we'll be tuning that thing tomorrow anyway. But I'm sure you've probably already seen that if you're watching this video now. So if you haven't, go and watch it. Righto guys, so I ended up just tuning Pecky's car this afternoon because Adam wasn't welding. So Rex has continued on with the big Hilux. So we managed to get the front drive shaft bolted up as well. So the front and rear drive shafts are bolted up. So at the moment Rex is just having a look. He needs to cut out and redo this tunnel a bit, which looks like he's already very well started, to accommodate for the new position of the four-wheel drive selector shaft. So the selector stick is actually moved further back on the R150F. So he's had to modify the tunnel for that to work. And we are hoping that we can sort of modify the center console to go back in because the owner sort of quite likes the center console in the car. So that'll probably take a bit of work and stuff, but Rex has been working on that. So by the time once we get our slave in tomorrow morning, this thing should be getting just about ready to be complete, really, which is awesome. That's really good after all this time. So it's good that it hasn't eaten into heaps of time. It's been pretty quick since we got that bell housing. So, and it'll be ready for a tune. What do you reckon, Rex? What are we going to make?
At least 30.
3,900.
You reckon we'll go 400? I reckon 350. What's it make at the moment? 320.
I think so.
Yeah, ran out of fuel pump at 320.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it,
well, you look at Adams.
Adams is 400.
400.
The
1.5 we did was 400. You look at this thing with the turbos that are on it and the drive line. Yeah, you got a four-wheel drive line with the twins. I reckon 350 would be a pretty good number.
I don't know. It should go close to 400 because there's a fair bit of turbo there, really.
Yeah, I suppose.
So I'll have a talk to Josh, the guy that built it.
Yep.
See what he reckons,
built
but
the motor.
I think he wanted 400 out of it. So
yeah, well,
I mean,
the
motor's there.
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly.
There's
The motor's
no
there.
problem
It's full forged. This 1J. It's the motor's all there. It's pretty much just until we run out of turbo or something breaks. It's pretty much what we're at. But I'm just looking at. I suppose there's a fair bit of turbo there. Yeah.
With the only thing that's going to limit us is basically on 98, but I still reckon we should be able to get 24, 25 because they are quite, like they are small turbos, but having the twins on the 1J, they are actually relatively big.
Yeah,
So-
for the capacity.
So, you know, they are quite, when you look at it that way, there's plenty of turbo there, so. But I mean, the motor's good for like 40.
Yeah,
It's just
the motor's good for lots of boost, so it's just a matter of how much boost we can get into it with our intake air temps staying normal and without getting knocked because it's only on 98. So, righto guys, so taking away this Hilux between other things. So Rex went to pick up the slave cylinder, the clutch slave that he ordered yesterday for W58 or a W57, I think he ordered. And he went to pick it up, and it turns out it's actually not going to work either. So that's a pain in the anus. Bit of a pain in the bottom. So Rex just bit the bullet. He just ended up buying the Delos actual, the clutch fork and the slave and the, that was it. Oh, and the adjustable pin for the slave. So Rex just ordered that. So now that's on its way. So at the moment, Rex is just fixing up the tunnel for the new location of the four-wheel drive selector shaft stick thing. But anyway, we're gonna have to wait again for stuff from Delos for a little bit, which is a pain, but we'll get there. It'll get there and be cool. Righto guys, finally back working on this Hilux. We have received what we needed from Delos as far as the clutch fork and the slave and everything else goes. So this is the slave that's made to work with their whole setup and their clutch fork and bearing carrier. So Lord knows what it's based off of or what it's out of. Probably nothing. They probably maybe they do it specially so that you have to buy that gear, but we just didn't have the time to try and figure out what it's based off and try and get something cheaper or different. So anyway, it is what it is. But a bit of bad news about the Hilux. The owner, since we've had it here and started working on it over the past couple of months, the owner has actually purchased some land. So he's sort of, at this point, he doesn't want to spend any more money than he has to until after he sort of has done the deal with what he's doing and whatever else. So at this point, he doesn't want us to tune it. He wants to save that money, probably get it tuned later on in the year. So at this stage, it's sort this gearbox out and get the car running again, leave it on its current tune until such a later date, which is sort of a pain because it would have been really nice to see what we could make out of this thing. Would have been a really nice one to have under our belt, but we'll see what we can convince him to do. We're still trying to convince him to pay us to tune it, trying to work out a deal so that we get to actually tune it, but if not, it'll just be back later on in the year, which is a shame for the content as well, but it is what it is. Not much we can do about it. It's not our choice to make. So anyway, we'll try and get this fork and everything back in. Hopefully have this thing pretty much done today and get it off the hoist. Righto, gearbox has dropped back out. We've pressed our bearing onto our new carrier and it should all go together like a finger in a bum. In be just perfect. It better be, because it all cost a lot of money and it all came from the same place, so I bet it will work. So that's the new adjustable push rod on the slave there. So it's all adjustable stuff, which means it all should work. You got to set it for the right offsets. So. Alright, this is our clutch arm ready to go back in. We had to change the banjo bolt because this slave's a little bit different to the old one as far as the fitting goes. And that's what the whole setup looks like. We actually ended up having to shorten up the clutch ball, the pivot ball for the fork, like all the way. Like as short as it would go. We had to actually grind off a lot of the threads to actually get it to sit far enough back. And then also having to make sure that the fork doesn't foul on the box here when it actually engages. But what we found is that for it to actually foul on the box is more travel than the actual slave has in the piston anyway. So either way, if it fouls on the box, we got problems. But anyway, so this, by all measurements in our accounts, should all work. Looks nice, and it's pretty much ready to go back in for its final time. Righto, so we've got our slave and everything on, we've bled it up and just double checked that everything's going to work and everything's got enough travel and everything's awesome. So everything's good. So the only issue we're presented with at the moment now is you can see this clutch fork, this extra bit on the clutch fork is actually directly in the way of our exhaust. So we're going to have to trim up that extra bit that's on the clutch fork, which is not a big deal at all. And maybe just either wrap the exhaust to that part or make up a bit of a heat shield for the slave. But sort of right in the way. The old conversion kit with the G52 with the plate had the slave like right directly in the middle at the bottom. So it has moved the entire slave where it is actually situated in the car. So now it's become an issue with the exhaust, which is a pain, but it's nothing we can't sort out. Alright, so done the chop and the chop. Chop.
Everybody does a chop.
So, and the exhaust is still so very close, so what we're actually going to do is just get the ball peen hammer and just make a little bit of a clearancing area in the exhaust to clear the slave, and also put a heat shield on the exhaust to just to help that slave out a bit. But yeah, it's all going to work though, which is good. So all worth it at the end of the day to have a gearbox that is not going to explode. So we're pretty much all together now. Looking pretty good actually. Actually, we still got to put the front tail shaft in. The plug for the reverse light switch seems to be the same on the gearbox. However, the plug, it must be for the forward drive center light for the dash. Drop my lens cap, that's nice. So that one's actually a different plug to what we've got on the loom here. So we need to do something about that. Doesn't have to be right now though. But we'll have to do something like that to make sure that the forward drive light on the dash still works. But apart from that, we're getting pretty close to being done. So that's our little, I'll show you after Rex has done his thing up. But I'll show you our little heat shield arrangement that we made for the slave, which should hopefully keep it nice and protected. And it should be all happy days from here on out. No more broken G52s. All right, so that's how it's ended up. So you can see it's all pretty tight, but tight enough's good enough. It all clears, which is the main thing. So we are full of fluids. Rex is just doing shifters at the moment. We're going to refit our little center console bit. We actually just moved the whole center console back to fit with the new shifter location for the the R150, so it actually fits up pretty nice. It looks quite good. So just got to fit all that back in, and then it's pretty much ready to go. And the owner Matt is actually coming to get it tonight, so definitely got to get it all sorted. I've got the shows underneath, but where the four-wheel drive light sort of switch seemed to be, I just pinned the box side so that it actually still so put spades on it, just so that it actually still goes into the plug on the loom. So that should work fine. We'll find out in a minute anyway, but that should all work all right. Apart from that, the thing's ready to fire up and get going. All right, that's what it looks like inside. So the whole center console, you can see there where it's been moved back just a bit to accommodate for the R150 shifter and four-wheel drive selector position, but it managed to get it all in there and working, which is good. So looks pretty good. So anyway, time to start her up, make sure all works. How good does that sound? It's hilarious how much this thing just sounds like a 22R or something sitting here idling away. Like, you'd never pick that this was a 1J by the sound of the idle. I find it just hilarious. But like when he leaves here and he gets up it, you can hear, as soon as it gets onto that power band, you can hear that 1J raspy 1J-ness. But sitting there idling away like at the traffic lights or something, you would never pick it. Or like if you got pulled up by a copper or something and you were just sitting there, you'd never pick that this was a 1J. It's hilarious. Testing out gears. Clutch feels good. Clutch feels good. That's good. Pretty schmick. Got reverse. Got reverse lights too, so that's good. Reverse lights. Beautiful. Four-wheel drive light on the dash works as well, which is awesome. So that means everything's working as it should be. Everything looks good in there.
Speedo's working.
Speedo's working. Awesome. That's pretty easy one because it's mechanical driving these things. So.
Yeah, clutch feels good. Like the pickup point for the clutch is right about where it should be.
Beautiful.
It all sounds pretty good.
I just love how that sounds at idle.
It just sounds so...
So, just nothing about it, eh? Just give it a rev up. See, when you get up and into the rev range, you can start to hear the 1J really come out, but...
Yeah, you've got to really get up.
You've got to get up it. Once you get up it, you can definitely tell it's 1J in there, but at idle, it's just so unsuspecting. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately that's going to be pretty much it for this video. I'm sorry, I know that not having the tune or having a horsepower figure sort of makes the whole video a little bit of an anticlimax, I guess. My apologies for that. Was looking forward to doing it, but again, it's not our point to say anything. It's really up to the owner and what he wants to spend money on, and it's not like we can't go working for free, so it just is what it is. It'll be back here later on in the year for a final tune. Hopefully we can squeeze 400 out of the big girl. Like we were saying, it is a fully built 1J. The motor is there. The gearbox now should be fine. That R150 should be plenty strong enough for 400. And like me and Rex were saying, it's only going to be a matter of whether we run out of turbo, really. We're still not quite sure exactly on the specs on those two turbos that are on it. So it's going to be a really fun day, I suppose, doing the tune. It's going to be interesting. So look forward to that. The other thing is, by the time you're watching this, I will have some stickers available for purchase. So stickers currently are being made. I've been told they'll be ready by Friday, which means by the time you're watching this video, they'll be on the online store ready to buy. So I've set up an online store. There is, as you'll see when you go there, there's plenty of shirts there which are on the way. However, I don't have any shirts in stock at the moment, but I have finally got some stickers for you guys to purchase. So I'll drop a link in the description. You can head to the online store and buy some stickers if you'd like to support the channel. Definitely the best way to do it. Everyone sort of wins. You get something. We get some more funds to go towards cool builds to film for you guys and keep making content. So making the world go round. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. As always, smash the like, smash subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out. See you. Bye.